Please, please, please do not make these mistakes when buying a home in Fort Lauderdale. Let's talk about it. All right, so let's dive right into this. If you've seen my channel before, first of all, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. But a lot of these tips you may have heard me speak about, but I wanted to put them together all in one video because I see a lot of people skipping steps or making certain mistakes. And I just want to clarify that this stuff is very important. So let's talk about 7 mistakes that you need to avoid when buying a home. And really this can be anywhere in any market, but we're focusing on Fort Lauderdale. And getting right into it, step number 1 is skipping the research phase. And if you're watching this video right now, good job. It means you're probably not skipping this step, but it's much more than just watching these videos. Researching online, researching areas before you look at houses. And we know looking at homes is the fun part, but you need to look at the areas before you can even start to consider looking at houses. And it goes much deeper than just researching areas, but researching the job market. You know, make sure you have a job lined up or at least know what your situation is going to be before you come down here. Research the cost of living, compare it to where you're currently living. Research the cost of housing. That may be one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make, is coming down here thinking that a home costs a certain amount of money when in reality it costs double what they originally think. And then it's not only researching the cost of housing, but when I say cost of living, research property taxes, research homeowners insurance. If you know anything about homeowners insurance in Florida, you know that it's a massive headache down here, and it can be kind of hard to insure a home and kind of pricey. So obviously you can't get an exact number when it comes to homeowners insurance without knowing the specifics of the home, but just articles, read articles, just do your research that way. And if you're looking for this information, this is exactly why you gotta reach out to us. We are a team of realtors here in Fort Lauderdale area, all of South Florida, and we love making these videos, but we love to help you even more with your real estate needs. So we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call, text, or email at any time, or go to the form, the link in my description, and book a Zoom call, and we're happy to talk with you that way. Moving on to point number 2. And this is not getting pre-approved or not getting pre-approved by a local lender. And this is probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make, believe it or not. And this tip alone will save you a ton of headaches. Now, obviously, without a pre-approval, you can't buy a home anyway, so you're not gonna get very far in the process. But I can't tell you how many people will just skip step 1 altogether and just wanna go straight to looking at homes. Well, because like I said, that's the fun part. And looking at homes in the beginning to kind of just get a feel for the market, that's okay. But if you don't know how much house you can actually afford, then what's the point? And I know they have all these types of online mortgage calculators, but that's not sufficient enough. I mean, it's a good starting point to kind of get an idea. And it's good if you're very early on in the process. Like I said, you just want to get a feel for homes. But there's so much info that those calculators don't know about you that in reality, you may just be wasting your time or hurting yourself by even looking at them to begin with. Let me paint a picture for you.
Let's get crazy. We're gonna check out your nerves today.
You put your salary into an online mortgage calculator that doesn't factor in your credit score, your debt to income ratio, the property taxes, the homeowner's insurance, and this random calculator just spits out a number at you that says that you can afford $1 million home, or you can afford the monthly payment for $1 million home, because we know that you should be really concerned about the monthly payment because ultimately that's what you're stuck with for 30 years. So you start looking at $1 million homes and falling in love with them. So now up until this point, you've done nothing but look at $1 million homes. And when it comes time to actually start shopping, you finally decide to get pre-approved and you find out you actually only qualify for $700,000. Now you look online at $700,000 homes and you're not too happy with what you see because you already had this picture in your head of $1 million homes. And by no means am I saying that a $700,000 home is not good enough, but when you kind of painted this picture in your head of what you can get for $1 million, and then you see what you can get for $700,000, you may have to make some sacrifices when it comes to the house or just choose a completely different area to actually match your budget. So please, please, please save yourself the headache and get pre-approved early on. Now, if you're a year or two out, it doesn't hurt to speak with a lender and at least kind of get a game plan and get some, basic information that could kind of help you. But even if you're 6 months out, it's never too early to get pre-approved. And I talk to a lot of people that don't want to get pre-approved until the very last minute after they've already been shopping online at homes. And I kind of like to think of it as like going to the doctor. You go to the doctor, you don't just walk in and see the doctor and start talking to him. You have to follow a process. You go in, you go to the counter, you fill out some basic information about yourself. They hand that information off to the nurse, who then asks you some more questions, and then the doctor comes in. Now, I'm not comparing myself to a doctor at all, but my point is that there's a process. Getting pre-approved will do nothing but help you. It won't hurt you. Like I said, if you're a year or two out, then that's a different story. But please, if you're gonna take anything away from this video, just make sure you get pre-approved before you start looking at homes. And the next step that you need to avoid is buying more than you're comfortable with or shopping at the top of your budget. And this one kind of goes along with the last one. Now, a pre-approval or the piece of paper may say that you can afford $5,000 monthly, but do you actually feel comfortable paying $5,000 monthly just because a piece of paper says you can? If you do, then that's great. But if you feel like you're gonna be draining your bank account or living paycheck to paycheck and becoming what they call house poor, then it may be time to reconsider some things and maybe start shopping at the bottom of your budget. Start lower and work your way up if necessary. This also gives you plenty of room to move up in the event that you need to make an above offer asking price, or maybe you're running out of time and still haven't found something. Shopping at the top only leaves you one way to go, and that's down. We'd rather start lower and work our way up if need be. Again, this is why getting pre-approved early on is so important. But okay, moving on. The next thing to avoid is not budgeting for upfront costs. And when I say upfront costs, I don't just mean your down payment and your closing costs, which is about 3 to 5% of your purchase price, but you're moving from out of state, so you have to factor in other expenses like transportation costs, storage units, moving expenses, potential maintenance costs. Is there gonna be a gap in your salary if you're starting a new job? Don't overlook these things, because as small as they may seem, these things tend to add up quickly, and the last thing you wanna do is have to dip into savings, especially if you were maybe planning on using that money for your new home. Okay, moving on. The next mistake to avoid is ignoring resale potential or overlooking the neighborhood. And this kind of goes back into number one, which is skipping the research phase, and something that you definitely want to consider, and why having your areas dialed in from the beginning is very important, considering the resale potential. Whether it's the neighborhood or the style of home that you want to buy, you definitely want to have your future in mind. And now for everybody who bought between 2020 and 2022, this was pretty much a non-issue because interest rates were low and the prices were much lower, but we're in a completely different market right now where these are things that you want to definitely consider. For example, single-family homes appreciate faster than townhomes, which appreciate faster than condos. And if you do decide to buy a condo, that's great, but you just have to consider what you're buying and what area you're buying into. As I've said before, there's an overabundance of condo inventory, which can just make them a little bit harder to sell. Easier to buy, but harder to sell. And then when it comes to location, there are certain towns or neighborhoods that just hold their value really well, either just due to the overall location or things like schools. Next mistake you want to avoid, and that's making emotional decisions. And I know buying a home can be very emotional, it can be stressful, but it doesn't have to be. And this really is one of those things where logical thinking trumps emotions all day. Now, yes, you do want to, have an emotional tie to the house that you do buy. You do want to love it. You don't want to just buy something just for the sake of buying it. But when it comes to thinking about certain things, you do have to think logically rather than making your decisions based off of purely emotions alone. Just remember that this is possibly one of the biggest financial purchases that you will make in your entire life. And you just want to make sure that your emotions won't let you make a decision that your future self will not be happy with. And number 7, and probably the biggest mistake you can make, no, I don't know if it's the biggest one, but number 7 is not calling us to help you. And I don't say this to be funny. I'm not saying this as a joke. But who you partner with really can make or break this for you. And you may try to do all this on your own, but the good news is that you don't have to. You know, you're not necessarily just buying a new home in the current city that you live in. You're coming to a completely different area. Or maybe you are buying a home in your current city. Maybe you do already live here, but you are watching these videos for a reason. And we really want to hear from you. I can't tell you how many people call me and I'll ask them, hey, why did you give us a call? And some people will say, well, we called a couple different people, but you're the only one who answered. So yes, we do want to hear from you. So I hope you got value from this video. I'm going to leave my information on the screen. We'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us, call, text, or email, or you can go to the link in my description and book a Zoom call, and we'd love to talk to you that way. As always, we appreciate the support. We appreciate the trust that you put into us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.